Politics Tonight, everyone. Tonight's conversation is centered on the judgment of the Federal High Court notifying the 2024 budget of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And I've been speaking with lawyer and political affairs analyst Libras Oshoma and public affairs analyst Saken Okulubo. Saken, thank you for staying with us. Now let's move on with this conversation. If the lawmakers continue to accuse the governor of interfering with the performance and functions of the states, contrary to the doctrine of separation of powers, how worried are you about a further breakdown of law and order if there is no synergy between the legislature and the executive?
Yes, that's why I said at this point in time, the governor must take the bull by the horn. The other 2 members or 3 members who haven't resumed, he should encourage them to resume, because it is obvious they are not resuming because they are seemingly loyal to the governor, and the governor is still not okay with maybe going to represent the budget. He should go ahead and represent this budget. Yes, 27 members are a whole lot. He can warm himself to them. There are 3 layers of government. You have the executive, you have the legislature, and you have the judiciary. And their functions are basically different. One makes laws, one interprets laws, and one executes those laws. And so the fact remains that you must have to be in tandem with your House of Assembly for you to have a smooth running of any government. So that is why you can't blame any governor who wants to know who the Speaker of the House is, who the principal officers of the House of Assembly that is under his purview or under his state is. And so at this material point in time, it is for the governor to play the politics of bringing them closer and looking for peace. If he finds peace, if he actually settles for peace, there will be no people to fan the embers of this court. And at this material point in time, the House will not say he's interfering anymore. He has recognized the Speaker. The other factional Speaker who was declared by Danagogo has resigned, Edisine here. And so I think they can move on, especially with this judgment. There should be no going to the appeal court because the peace pact they signed does not give room for such. He should rather represent the budget, invite the members to the House, to the government house, and look for a way to exchange banters and move on.
But what do you think? What do you think is the implication of a lack of synergy on governance in River State?
Yeah, the fact is they all belong to a particular political family, and there's a crack in that political family. And once there's a crack in the political family, there is no synergy. And it's also important that the FCT minister must also look beyond getting angry or feeling betrayed. Everybody knows that in politics you get betrayed. Even in America, you see Trump very unhappy that Nikki Haley is running against him. He appointed Nikki Haley United Nations ambassador, a very important position after the Secretary of State. Nikki Haley is feeling that Tim Scott have betrayed her by endorsing Trump because he appointed Senator Tim Scott as the senator from South Carolina. So in every way in politics, there is always this issue of betrayal. You don't know a man until you give him money and power. They keep saying, there's this saying. So Governor Wike, former Governor Wike, should also look beyond whatever he feels and look at the larger interest of Rivers State. I think he should also show leadership. If he drives his car when he gets to Port Harcourt to government house, Fubara is not going to turn him back. And once he does that, genuine peace will be found, and this synergy will start showing itself. And he would also have proved those who have been fanning these embers of discord wrong. I think he should do that to show that he's a leader indeed.
Right, but outside of Rivers State, why do you think Nigerian politicians fight to the finish?
It's always like that because people feel very betrayed. You know, the problem they have is, I was telling somebody something about Rivers. I said they're even lucky that in Rivers they had a governor who was buying one form and tried as much as he can not to bring friction. Because if you buy one form, that means people met and agreed that this one person should go. In Delta State, where I come from, they didn't have that opportunity. I was very aware that the former governor encouraged everybody to buy form. But he already had predetermined people for each position. And so you can imagine how much people spent buying forms. He did not discourage them when you come and say you want to go and buy your form. But at the end of the day, there was this very in-house animosity, in-fighting. And there's nothing as bad as when you feel betrayed in politics. That is why you see the fight goes beyond the ordinary. And sometimes they take it to the court of first instance, court of second instance, and to the Supreme Court. And I think Nigeria should learn from Jonathan, who had a very big opportunity to go to the tribunal, the appeal court, and to the Supreme Court, especially since the card readers didn't work. But said, look, I'll let it go. I'll let it pass. It's very difficult, but that is an example most of us should imbibe in Nigeria.
All right. So earlier, I asked if you think or if you thought the governor is being misled in any way. And I asked that question because just some hours ago, former militant leader Chief Victor Ben, also known as Boyloof, has called on the River State Governor, Fubara, to shun sycophants and pursue reconciliation with former Governor Yusuf Wike. I mean, he went ahead to say, this is important because those fanning the embers of this crisis are doing so because of personal enrichment. What's your take on this call?
Well, but that's exactly what I said. He should sheath his sword and forget anybody whispering anything to him right now. Because today he's sitting down as the governor of Rivers State. It's because of Nyesom Wike. He cannot deny that fact. Yes, Rivers people voted for him. But Nyesom Wike gave him the platform, bought his form, encouraged him, and campaigned with him, and sponsored his governorship ambition. And so if all these people come now and say, oh, he doesn't want you to breathe, the man can help you, he can do this, he can do that, you should also ask yourself, where are these people coming from? The ball is in his court. If he continues to be recalcitrant, he will keep having problems. Because if he doesn't take the bull by the horn, the bull will take him by the horn. And that is why it is important for him at this material point in time to pursue genuine peace outside Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Bola Ahmed Tinubu just gave them a platform. He expected that they should move on after that meeting to pursue genuine peace. I don't even see why also Fubara cannot get into Abuja and go straight to Wike's house without even unannounced. Wike is not definitely going to turn him back and open the door and sit down and excuse him into a room. And you see, they'll come out, they'll argue and all that, but tempers all the tempers that have fled will definitely come down. And that is how things like this are sorted out. But people will be like, oh, don't go there, don't go there. Why? After all, you escorted him to go and thank the president for appointing him the FCT minister. You led the delegation. So why can't you go there on your own, just few people, and just go into a room with Wike and sit down and have a discussion with him? That's exactly what I think the governor should also do. It depends on both of them. They are leaders and they can just end this thing when they make such moves. And their supporters will have no choice but to keep quiet and stop fanning the embers of discord.
Right. I mean, just like you said, this godfather, godson fracas didn't start today. But there are some who have said there are too many source stories other than the benefit inherent in this. But let me ask you, can godfatherism really end in Nigerian politics?
It's very hard to end. I'll give you an example. In Delta, I was serving as a commissioner under Governor Odua. And when Okowa was to run, he complained so much about the fact that Governor Odua didn't support him. And some of us who were working with Governor Odua, of course, were loyal to him and will follow the dictates of Governor Odua. And he eventually felt Governor Odua shouldn't determine who should succeed him. And when Okowa succeeded, he didn't do the same thing. He wanted and insisted that he must decide on who his successor was going to be. And so he just vice versa. What you don't want others to do to you, you do to them. So it's going to be very difficult for Godfatherism to end because there are very few people that would act like, I'm thinking El-Rufai has impressed me, who has handed over power and at least has turned his back, or Benayade. A few of them have maybe learned from what it is like when you hand over power and you keep interfering. You always get your fingers burned. But not everybody would feel that way. I think in the issue of rivers, it was peculiar. It was peculiar in the sense that so many people had benefited from Governor Wike. And so they felt Governor Fubara, it was too early in the day to call it quits with the same structure that brought him into office.
Right, so as we wrap up tonight, in all of this, the people of Rivers State are at the receiving end of this political crisis. What is the fate of the people?
Yes, but I think one thing I must also give to Governor Fubara, he has moved on to carry on his developmental projects. And if you look at the budget, a few of the things I saw there, it is very obvious that Governor Fubara intends to follow in the footsteps of Wike, if not even beating Wike in the issue of infrastructure. So it is for the Rivers people to continue to pray that genuine peace will be found so that they can move on as a state. And Rivers will stop being a topic of discussion almost every week.
Right. So, Ken, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for finding time to join us tonight. And sadly, Libra Soshoma could not continue with us. But I must say thank you to both of you. I've been speaking with Sir Ken Okolugo, a public affairs analyst, and a lawyer, political affairs analyst, Libra Soshoma, as we focus on the judgment of the Federal High Court nullifying the Rivers State 2024 budget. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight, but the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Good night.